Hello everyone, this is Aaditya Mehta and you are listening to Podcast on Personality Development. In today's episode, we are going to listen to one person who has a wonderful nickname, and that is Turnaround Queen, as she inspires and empowers her team and clients to change mindset and drive growth in business, leadership, and culture. We are going to talk about her story specifically. And through her story, I'm sure we are going to learn much more about leadership, mindset, and personal branding. But before getting into today's show, I would like to say that you can now ask questions to the guest of this show. How? All you need to do is join our WhatsApp community where I post exclusive content and also upcoming interviews and topics where you can ask questions to me and I'll ask to the guest of the show on behalf of you. And all of this is completely free. So, what are you waiting for? Click on the link in the description and join the community now. Now, without any further ado, let's get started with today's episode. Hello and welcome back to today's episode. As I've already mentioned, we have a turnaround queen in the house. She has over 20 years of experience as a corporate executive and board of director. She has been one of the youngest chief operating officers at the age of 24, a president by the age of 35, and a CEO by the age of 41. So please allow me to welcome an award winning executive leader, number one best selling author, and an in demand professional public speaker, Victoria Pelletier. Hello,
Hi,
Victoria. How are you doing?
good. Thanks for having me on the show.
I am really thrilled to have you on this show today. Thank you so much for taking out your valuable time and being a part of this show. I really appreciate it. All yours to you. I mean, the first thing I feel what I gave, the introduction, although it seemed very much, but I know that it's just a crisp introduction of yours. So if you would like to give more in-depth introduction of yours to the audience.
Oh, I don't know that they want to hear any more about, the credentialization, but I'll do a very tiny bit extra. Um, I have been an executive for a very long time. It makes me feel very old when I think about how long I've been doing it, or when people cite how long I've been doing it. I, my career took a very different path than I thought it was. I had planned to be a lawyer, but I worked in a bank while I was in university and got promoted up through the ranks, and then ended up thinking I was taking a year off to pursue that new promotion and relocation they gave me, and realized how much I loved the business world and being in leadership. And so I was with that organization for a number of years, and then got recruited out into the world of business process outsourcing, BPO, as a chief operating officer, because they had many banking clients and I had been running large contact center operations within a bank. And from there forward, I realized how much I liked the dynamic of being in like a business to business environment. It's way more complex. And also, again, from a leadership perspective, it challenged me. It was a stretch role for me. And so my career has evolved in that vein ever since, in the world of professional services, this notion of consulting through to an operational with technology as the enabler. And I've had the good fortune to work worldwide. I also sit on a number of boards. And as you mentioned, I'm an author and a speaker. Doing a lot of public speaking brings me great joy. And then on the personal side, wife and mother and a fitness fanatic, and I love good food and good wine.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. The moment when you said that you first wanted to become a lawyer, well, I feel with that voice you could have become a great lawyer. That's for sure. And the way you said that, you wanted to be in a business to business environment where it is more complex. And believe me, I belong to that environment right now from past 3 or 4 years. I mean, way more junior than you, but still I do understand that it's really challenging, but it's fun at the same time. So I completely get that. However, from where did that all started? I mean, you mentioned that you wanted to become a lawyer and then you joined a company, and over there you got this environment which sort of gave you a kick. But there has to be some incident, right, which just made you think that, forget about being a lawyer, I'm doing great over here in this environment itself. So was there a particular moment about it?
Um, I don't know that it was like one single thing. I took the opportunity to what I thought was to take a year off before I was going to go back to school. I was working in one city and they relocated me across the country to the largest city in the country. I'm originally from Canada, and I've been between Canada and living in Canada and the US ever since. But I moved to a large city there, and I was working on the very, very early days, long before digital transformation. We weren't using that phrase, but we were looking at borderless, branchless banking at that point. And so that was pretty exciting to work on. And I got promoted, and I was in a management role. So I, again, just thought I'm taking a year off, but then I was doing some really cool and interesting things. And then actually another bank recruited me away from that one, where I was, doing some really great things. I've always been a voracious learner, and I want to challenge myself. And so I took courses to, get my securities license. So that was what enabled me to like move into leading a discount brokerage operation. After doing a few different things within the bank. So I just kept kind of moving progressively up the ladder. And so then at some point it was, I evaluated whether I was going to go to school, and the mere thought at that point of like going back to school and hitting the books, but still I always worked throughout university. I moved out on my own at 17, so I needed to work. It began to be not quite as appealing to me. And I did a brief stint, actually. I sort of shadowed a lawyer at one point when I was in university, and it wasn't nearly as sexy or as exciting as when I watched it on television with my mother growing up. So I thought, let me just continue down this path. I always thought it was there as an option for me. And I'm a big believer in like following your passion, and doing the things that bring you professional and personal joy or value. And my career was doing that for me. So then I decided not to go back, not to pursue what was the plan from childhood. Although interestingly, I think I read more contracts now than I might have if I'd stayed in or gone into the legal field.
Well, that's pretty interesting. I would like to, know more about the contracts, but I think that would be later in the conversation. Currently, I want to ask about you being in the, top spot, like, at the age of 24, you becoming a chief operations officer. I mean, COO at the age of 24 is something which most people would dream about. I mean, in India, till the age of 24, people are still completing their master degree program. And by that age, you became the CEO of the company. So how was that? I mean, and at what point of time did you realize that you have become a CEO? And was there a happy moment, or it was just like with great power comes great responsibility, and you were just into it and trying to do things and manage things because of the new role which you got?
So I recognize that I got that role for a number of reasons. So one was, I mean, I had experience leading contact centers, and the world of BPO, it has evolved a lot over the last 20 years, but at that point was predominantly call center work, doing, customer service and technical support. Now outsourcing is so many other things, whether it's technology or the corporate functions of businesses. But I had been leading contact centers for 6 or 7 years at that point. I had banking experience, and they had many banking clients. And so I was networked in that space. So those were pretty significant reasons for them wanting to recruit me. The other one is I am not a believer in this notion of fake it till you make it, except when it comes to confidence. You need to show up confidently in that setting. Confidence is often equates to people's perception of competence. And so the mere fact that I showed up very confident, even at 24 years old, I think they had no idea. I think my age could have swung many ways at that point. And I was a new mother. So there were lots of things when you look at how long I'd been in the work world. So I think they probably thought I was a lot older as well. But showing up with a lot of the core competencies with great confidence in an industry and experience that helped me get the role. But I had significant insecurities, and the notion of imposter syndrome was very real for me. In that COO role, I led pretty much every function of the organization except for finance. So where I had deep operational experience in leading and also leading people, I now formally had HR, technology, client management, quality assurance, all of that reporting into me. And so I needed to very quickly make sure I had a strong team around me that had the skills and capabilities, particularly in the areas that I did not. And what I would say is I think I made some mistakes in my leadership early on because I didn't always feel like I belonged there. I was the only woman, and I was the youngest by probably 20 years at least. So I sort of showed up like very, very business all the time. I wasn't, the kind of like open and transparent and authentic leader. And so I had good relationships with people, but I'd say the way I've led over time has changed. At one point I was called the Iron Maiden because lots of restructuring. You have to be really strong with performance management. So I'm very good at making some of the tough business decisions that need to be made, but I never actually showed how like emotional that was for me. So it took me several years to gain real confidence in my ability to sit at, those tables and start to show vulnerability with my teams, start to show that I had emotion, because I was worried I'd be, viewed as too soft as a woman. These things as a woman in business, we often, will deal with. And so, yeah, so I've shifted, over time to the point where you said, I've gotten some nicknames as the turnaround queen. A big part of that is not only my ability to make really tough decisions, but building strong teams, building trust and credibility with these teams, and operating almost a little bit like a family many times in those environments that just creates this great culture that everyone wants to work in.
That's wonderfully said. I really appreciate you sharing these many things that you sort of have to make sure that you handle them like a family. And in the very beginning, you mentioned about imposter syndrome as well. And that is something which is very real for most of the people who are into the corporate industry nowadays. I mean, I had an imposter syndrome as well when I joined into the market, and I straight away got the manager's position. So it was really difficult for me as well to be in that role. So I would like to ask you about, and you mentioned about that you were into imposter syndrome in the very initial phase. How did you cope up with it, and how difficult was it for you to cope up with it?
It took years for me to like gain true confidence in myself and feel like I belonged there. But I overcame some pretty extreme adversity when I was young, and it's created for me, this no excuses mindset, where and by that I mean like we have a choice in terms of how we're going to respond to challenge and adversity. And so I've never let anything stop me from achieving the goal or objective that I've had. And so some of that's I think innately in my DNA, and some of it I've actually learned to like build the muscle around confidence, this skill set. So it took, I think it took me a number of years to sort of settle into and believe like, okay, like I got this, but also be really comfortable saying like, I think early on, I didn't want to say, I don't have all the answers. And now I'm like, really like very much able to, one, say I made a mistake, and two, say, I don't know what I don't know. I'm going to find out, I'm going to find the right team. I'm going to go get educated. But again, that a lot of that's come with maturity, some self-love and confidence in who I am to be able to say some of those things.
That's pretty amazing. So you said that it took years, but you basically created a good muscle for your confidence and for nurturing your mindset as well. That's wonderful itself. But when you say about building a strong muscle around yourself, and that is building great confidence and mindset as well, how much of an external factors which was really helpful for you? For example, it is always said that you have to surround yourself with people who are giving sort of good motivation to you, or giving you good vibes, in a Gen Z kind of language, I would say, that sort of give you good vibes, or somewhere it just they just give you good confidence that what, you can do it, come on, you can do it. So was there any external factor like that, or was there, it was just in your mind, or was it something like which was taught to you in your childhood?
I think I think it's a number of factors. So first of all, I mentioned that I overcame like very extreme adversity in my youth, and I think that is a little bit of what fueled me. I was determined that I was going to be better than the biology I was born into or the circumstances around me. So for me, that's always kind of been the anchor point for me. Like my circumstance is not going to dictate how far I'm going to go. No one's going to tell me no, that I cannot do it, whatever I set my mind to. And so that comes from, I think, those early years and a mindset that formed very early on for me.
Right.
And then I think it's also my nature in that I don't like the status quo. I want to be challenged and to grow, and that has meant I'm taking on often new roles with greater responsibility, that I'm learning in new areas. I didn't say I want to become a C-suite executive in the early at 24, or the CEO later. That wasn't, I was just consistently looking to be challenged and do things that excited me. And so that's kind of what propelled me. Now, in terms of mentors and people supporting me, I'm very fortunate that my spouses, I'm married twice. So both my ex and my husband now have always been super supportive of my career and enabled me to, in fact, they've shouldered the majority of the household duties between kids and house, because of my career. So I've primarily been the earner. And so that's been helpful. And then I've had some like great leaders that I've worked with. There's one that I worked with him. He hired me two times. We worked together at one company, and then he brought me over to another one. And, so he was a big supporter of mine. But I think there's also been the opposite of that. People will often ask me about mentors, and sadly, some good people that I've worked with and some people I've learned from, but fewer mentors. In fact, there's many really, really horrible leaders that I've seen in business that they actually become an example of whom I don't want to become. And so it's kind of the opposite for me. And so I take kind of the negativity and their like poor leadership, and it fuels me to do better and different.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, people wouldn't do that. People like me, I mean, many people have done that, and I have seen them, that being a leader, if he can do certain things, then of course we should be doing that as well. But you, on the other hand, thought that, this is how I don't want to be a leader, and this is how, a leader I want to become. So, I mean, that's pretty amazing. And you saying the entire story of from your childhood, that all the things which you had faced, I am pretty sure that might be really tough, because that has made you more and more tougher. And I feel, even while you're speaking, it feels like, like you have that fire in your voice as well, that no matter what, I'm not going to quit, and I'm going to do things which I'll be surprised from, that, oh my God, I can do that. I'm pretty sure even in case of competition, when you are trying to prove your competence, you might not even go for others. You might not even compete others, but you would compete yourself rather, and see where how far you can go from the last time you what you had achieved. So I think that's number one thing which I feel that I have learned, and I'm pretty sure there are many more listeners who are listening, are learning from you. However, going ahead, you have talked about the situation which was there in your formative years, and that's what made you tough, and that's what always have motivated you to do greater things in life. But however, even after becoming COO, or getting any higher position, obstacles are a byproduct which comes with it. And sometimes those obstacles might be with us and might be with the people with whom we are working. So how do you manage those kind of obstacles which come around during your day-to-day work?
I mean, it's normal course of a day, quite honestly, is with challenge just coming up. So for me, I've built this, process for being resilient, whether that's an obstacle, or challenge or a trauma, for example, that, can happen. And so for me, there's a level of, so first and foremost, like, let's understand what our goal or objective is. That's always the anchor point. So, if the obstacle is, I need to grow my business unit by 10%. Okay, well, so let's be clear. That's the target that the company's told me I need to achieve. Got it. Like, so always know that that's the plan for the year. And so when, you lose someone a salesperson, or you don't win a piece of business. Okay, well, like, that's a challenge. So how are we going to deal with that? So then the next step is to be really reflective. So self-reflective, like, why did we not win? Or, maybe some other kind of challenge. Maybe it's me personally. Like, was there something, am I feeling, did I act or say, or what is it? So let's be really reflective, and then start to build a plan towards, whether it's a personal development, with an obstacle that's come. Is it my thinking? Like, do I need to therefore start to think in a very different way? How do I need to act differently or behave differently to achieve a different result? And then I also, however, give myself permission to fail in all of that. And then just go through this like iterative process of like, clear on the goal. Let's be self-reflective. Let's model the thoughts, action, behavior to get us towards that. And then also giving myself permission to fail and go back through that. But again, with this mindset of like, no excuses, however, like at some point, we're all, big boys and girls, and we need to own when we make a mistake. And not everything's in our control, but how we choose to respond to that and take action is. And so that's the way for me that I go about every day, because there's obstacles and challenges and things that don't go my way every day, from like something really, simple, to some of those bigger, hairy, meaty problems that happen from a work perspective.
Okay. I mean, I don't have words for that, to be very honest. The way you mention each and everything, you are a great articulator as well. You really make sure that you have organized your thoughts, and the way you speak is really articulative, which is something which everyone should have. And currently I am learning from you, and I feel, audience, I'm telling this to you as well. Whatever she is giving is a great wisdom, a wisdom of more than 20 years, I would say. So I hope, as I mention in every podcast, I am mentioning right now as well, make sure to sit with a book and a pen, so that you can write each and every wisdom which she is offering right now. Or you can listen to this podcast again and again, and I'm really happy about it, to be very honest. So, and honestly, Victoria, I'm going to listen to it at least 2 to 3 times, because what you are saying right now is really, really important, and I need to have a thought process on it as well. It's not like if I listen to it one time and I'm going to implement in my life as well. So, these are some great wisdom which you are providing. However, going ahead, you mentioned that you have your goal set, and you go ahead and you think like, I'm going to make sure that whatever happens, I'm going to find a solution. And because your goal is set, and you also mentioned that not everything is under our control. So in those times, basically, it becomes really difficult as a leader, when things are not in your control, but that there are certain things which are in control of your colleagues, and you just want them to do their part. But somehow there are many other things which comes into the picture, like their competency, their level of work, and sometimes the things which they do, you kind of want to give them a harsh feedback on that as well. And as and also you mentioned about we being big boys and girls, we have to own our mistake as well. But sometimes, as a leader, I would say most of the people would say that I have to hear some scolding because of the people I work with. So how how to change these kind of mindsets, that's number one. And number two, how to make sure to change the mindset of the colleagues as well, who are working on a very same goal that leaders are working on. So what would you like to say about that?
Well, so at the end of the day, as the leader, I am accountable, period. And for my team, for their performance, I'm accountable for developing their skills and their performance, and then making the tough decisions if it's not successful to find them a different role or move them out of the organization. As a leader, that's always on me. Now, can I step into an organization, with a team I didn't select, I don't know their skills, etc. Yes, but I have a finite period of time where I can go in and I can make those changes. It's my role as a leader to be really clear with the team around how success is measured in our organization. What are our goals? What are the goals and expectations of us to deliver to our clients or our customers, to our shareholders, and to one another? So I need to make sure that I'm translating, the way the business is being measured down to them individually, so they understand how can I impact that as one person. And so that's a big part of my role in is doing that translation and helping build some trust and transparency around it. The other is around being really clear around the kind of environment we want to work in as well. And so for me, I'm very focused on doing the right thing in business, and for both our clients and our colleagues. They don't need to be opposing. It's not, either or, it is and so how do we do the right thing, and how do we build the kind of culture and environment that you and I would want to work in? And so for me, that comes down to, not just the policies and the procedures we have, and like putting a mission statement on the wall around what the culture is going to look like and what we're, kind of want to deliver for our customers in the world. But it also comes with how I show up every day, the language and the actions and the behavior around what is tolerable or not. And then for those who aren't prepared to get on the bus, as they say, around either the performance requirements in terms of what success is and how we measure, or being a good colleague to create that right kind of environment, then at some point I need to coach them to skills and behaviors. And if at a period of time, like they're not prepared to make some of those changes, then, we need to, as a leader, move people out of the organization. I hope I don't have to do that. I will do everything in my power to try and make sure they're successful. But at the end of the day, back to the original, like, I'm accountable. And so as a leader, I'm in control of what does that look like with my team dynamics. Now there's macroeconomics and like things environmentally that are going to happen out, those are the things I can't control, but, and so that's where I tend to try and focus on what can I control, and like, let some of those other things go or adjust from there.
This is a great learning for me. I mean, things which you say, I mean, it sounds very simple. And once anyone listens to it, anyone would say that, oh, why didn't that came in my mind? But I feel that's because we don't have 20 years of experience as corporate executive, and that's the reason it comes super easy for you. It doesn't come super easy for us, but this is really great, and I'm really loving this conversation. Although I have tons of more question, but I feel that it is becoming a pretty long podcast, and every good conversation has to come to an end. But I am really inviting you for the second part, like right now itself. So I hope you would agree to that for the second part. And for the first part, I would say this would be my last question, and that is, if people wants to get connected with you, if people wants to ask more questions to you, how can they get connected with you, or how can they find you?
So the easiest way is I have a personal website, which is victoria-pelletier.com. And I'm sure you'll have it in the show notes so people can click from there. But that from there, they can see all the articles I write when I'm doing public speaking, for anyone who wants to hire me to come and speak, or if they want to connect with me on the other social channels, LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, they can get the links directly from there.
Wonderful. So audience, you don't have to worry about, as she mentioned, I'm going to mention each and everything in the description. You are just a click away from Victoria, and just mention to her that you know her from Personality Development Podcast, and I'm pretty sure she will answer you first, like on priority. I hope that's fine with you, Victoria, if I commit that to my listeners. However, thank you so much, Victoria, for being a part of this show. Any lasting message for part one to the audience which you would like to give?
Well, since it's about personal development, I'm a big believer that you are the CEO of you, brand you. And so, be unstoppable in whatever that means to you. Don't let anyone tell you how far and wide you can go. Control the things you can control, and be confident out there.
Wow, that's wonderful. And Brand You was the name of season 6 of Personality Development Podcast as well. So thank you so much for saying that, Victoria. And audience, if you feel that this podcast and this episode adds value in your life, then make sure to share it with your loved ones. With that being said, this is Aaditya Mehta along with Victoria signing off from this episode. See you in the next one. Till then, peace out.